I'm Alan Stulberg, and I'm the founder, CEO, and head of design at Revival Cycles. I can't say exactly where it began. I can say my passion for riding began when I was 5. Prior to that, I'm sure I was still into it already before then, but I got my first bike at 5 years old. In truth, my dad built custom bikes to a degree when I was in diapers. So whatever age that is, my dad had a custom Triumph that he was building. And I got to sit on that bike and rev it, and I do remember it. But my fascination with customizing and changing things began really young, like even with bicycles and the motorcycles that I would have. As far as really taking it to another level, that didn't really begin until I was in my 30s. I realized that I was working to live, and I started sort of living. My work became my life instead, right? So I can't say exactly. My fascination with building and customizing motorcycles developed over my entire adult life, really. When it culminated into a move, it was desperation with the working world that I was surrounded in and that I was part of, and realizing that I really wanted to make my own way and be in charge of my own destiny. And I started to build and customize and design things of all nature, and really motorcycles were the main vehicle, if you will, for that energy. People who ride a bike are dismissing their safety to a degree. But for me, the way I look at it is that I ride a motorcycle because I'm actually comfortable with the numbers and the risks that I'm taking. And I fully recognize that the world outside of motorcycles isn't safe either. And I'm willing to accept the perhaps increased risk of doing so. But also the truth is, and this is cliche, but the truth is, I feel more alive when I'm riding a motorcycle than when I'm not. So taking that risk and accepting those risks is easier to do, right, in the moment. You might ride less as you get older, but in truth, I could die of a heart attack tomorrow. Revival, frankly, was created out of my own desperation to not go back to work. I got fired from a corporate job, realized there were parts of it that were all me. That I wasn't really willing to accept what I had to do to be a part of the corporate world that I really was on a career path towards maintaining, and recognizing that I wanted to try to make something that I gravitated towards naturally into my job, into my occupation. So, sometimes I don't really say that there was some sort of like aha moment. It happened over a period of time. There was a desperation to find a way to make that my job instead of living for the weekend. Revival is a culmination co-op consortium of a group of guys that share the same passion for design, motorcycles, and kind of all things motoculture. We cater to a lot of different clientele. So we have high-end clientele, high net worth, individuals that pay us to build them the custom suit of custom motorcycles. We have thousands of builders and beginners and DIY guys in their garages that buy parts from us, learn from the things that we've built. We try to share all our knowledge that we've kind of learned by screwing up. But the client base runs the gamut. So some guys come in for a custom motorcycle, some guys just need us to finish a bike they started, and some guys just buy parts so they can do it all themselves at home. So really, we don't cater to one different style, we cater to enthusiasts. So when I started Revival, the vision I always had was that I wanted to share what I did in the workshop that might seem extraordinary to some people. That's just sort of normal for us. So we do somewhat extraordinary things in a normal day. So I would take photos of all the little things we did in the workshop and share them. There was most definitely judgment that came our way from the traditional motorcycle shops, right? But from the beginning, and I mean from the very beginning before I even had one single employee, what I wanted to do was to open up the things I was doing, the process of the learning, and of course the actual manufacturing or building of things. I wanted to open it up so people that were at home were able to look at what we were doing and feel like they were experiencing it as well. I think that what we've done has managed to reach all over the world, mostly because it's a bit unique in its earnest authenticity of presenting that we're normal people trying to do something that's a bit more extraordinary, and I think that's resonated with people all over the world. But also, there aren't that many nerds around the world that are quite as nerdy about what we do as we are, and so you find your eccentric types everywhere, because there are only so many eccentric types in Austin or in your own backyard. So you got to go further. I hope that Revival remains relevant in its ability to move with the times or ahead of them. By that I mean we're looking backwards 100 years into motorcycle technology. We're looking and appreciating the engineering that went into the things that were made before there were computers or even the word computer, right? When people had to look at a problem and challenge that problem with an engineering slide rule and an engineering mindset to make a part to work together with another part. I mean, that to people that were born post 1985 is an unreal universe, right? To imagine the fact that someone would build a motorcycle and the hundreds or thousands of parts that go into it without even the slightest bit of technology or a calculator is really incredible. And to miss that and to not realize that happened like this in human history is not only a mistake, I think it's an inhibitor, meaning if you don't realize how things came to be that are part of your life, then where are you? Taking things for granted is one thing. Having things take care of you conveniently is awesome. But I think appreciating how those things came to be in the hundreds of years, in the millions of hours of contemplation that came into designing those things is important to having a fulfilled life. The most satisfying part for me is seeing members of my team do things they previously couldn't do. Whether you're pushing them to work harder or stretch the limits of their own imagination or their own skills, or they're using the tools and the somewhat co-op existence and culture that we have here to stand on their teammates' shoulders to allow them the time to do those things. It doesn't really matter to me as long as they're trying new things, they stay interested, if they don't see it as work. It's super satisfying. Like, it's everything. I don't know if we're influencing motorcycle culture. I know that we're influencing some people to connect with their machines and connect with their devices in a way that perhaps in the past they were not. To understand that it's not really rocket science that makes everything go, that it's normal people that design those machines with passion and belief. That's enough for me. And I think encouraging them and influencing them is, even if it's 10 people, it's enough. I address any project with the same amount of passion and care consistently. The same every single time, whether it's an event or a motorcycle or a t-shirt or whatever, to try to apply that same passion for the end user and imagining yourself either as an onlooker or as a user of the product. Even as small as the motorcycle world is, the custom motorcycle world that I live in, it's still incredibly tight. And by that I mean anybody that tries to enter that world without a reputation prior to that is oftentimes judged or put under some sort of measuring stick that isn't realistic, and you kind of have to stick through it and just stay there. But in truth, I was never focused on the motorcycle scene. It wasn't about custom motorcycles or becoming the top of anything like that. It was about applying what I knew to the thing I loved and then applying that same education that I got building motorcycles into other things, right? So broadening that horizon and scope. And I think that patience rewards those that are patient. Revival caters to people that appreciate things that they will keep. Buy fewer, better things is our mantra for a reason, because I'd rather have one of something that I keep for many years than 10 of any given item. I try to keep that in mind as we're producing anything and message that to the end user, which is you don't need 10, you just need one. I think connection with our clients, our end users, our followers, our fans is primary to our existence. If we get away from our supporters, we'll lose the plot pretty quickly, and I have for sure. So correcting and coming back to the people that are actually the wave that we get to ride, the people that build that, is everything. I think there are companies and brands that make products so people can identify with their brand or what they do or their philosophies, and that's great. And I like doing that. But I also think it's extremely important that you give people an experience that represents who you are or what you want them to feel, see, and smell, and all that. And early on, I realized that we needed to be in the event business, which I didn't really regard as an event. I just regarded it as a key thing that I would do that would allow people to feel and taste, revival. So before Revival existed, I wanted to do an event, right? I wanted to do a motorcycle event to share my passion with other people, but also to bring together all these like-minded individuals that I would get to kind of feed off of, just inspiration-wise, right? And yeah, we started to do events. It's something that I'd like to do more of, but when things are safer and healthier, I want to bring as many people together as possible to share with them the things that we've learned and that inspire us. The Handbuilt Show was an idea I had brewing for probably 10 years. I wanted to have a motorcycle event because I was really interested in motorcycles, motorcycle shows, custom motorcycles, vintage motorcycles. I really wanted to see more and soak up more, so I would go to events, but most of them were parking lot dudes just sitting around talking about their rides. And what I really wanted to do was to take my chosen art or creative form and turn it into something that was a bit more appreciated, to present it into a gallery setting, to show that it takes real ingenuity, real creativity, and real artists to do the sort of work that we do. So creating an event that created much more of an experience than just a parking lot in the glaring sun was the impetus, was the absolute initiative that started the whole thing. From there, you start small, you build out everything. The very first Handbuilt show, I spent the 2 weeks prior to the show running power into a somewhat abandoned building myself so that I could put the lights up that I wanted, because I knew that was going to create the right mood. And it's gone from that small little event where we were just free admission, everyone come, let's see what happens, to this international party where everyone comes from all over the world to not only soak up the sights and the sounds, but just to feel it, experience it, and be in the room with other like-minded creatives. It's been really one of the more satisfying things I've ever done. What I realized early on was that the outsized impact that we could make as a brand, as a team, as a culture existed online, right? And so being able to connect to that and then share those things is everything. It's all the value really for us. Having people in person is great. It's wonderful to share that with 10 or 20,000 of your closest friends, but sharing it with a few million people is endlessly more valuable and efficient to our culture. Revival's growing, and I think that more than anything, our tribe is becoming more aware of who we are. Our tribe is becoming larger, right? The people that appreciate what we're about. As we continue to consistently message not only who we are, but what we want other people to know and be, then it just organically keeps growing. The future of Revival, if I still have anything to say about it, is that we grow to embrace design of all kinds, whether that be technology design, consumer goods design, automotive design, apparel design. Those are the things I'm interested in, and those are the things I'm pushing the company and the brand and the team towards. So I'm hoping that we're not just limited to the motorcycle culture at this point, but I'm hoping to continue to broaden the scope and imagination of the entire team and our clientele base. How I'd like Revival to continue to be involved and to be relevant at all in that conversation is how it shares and disseminates education of design of all types, whether it be technology or motorcycles or the loom that made your t-shirt. That is important to share with those that take it for granted the most. Revival is a group of people that didn't find satisfaction in the normal working world, that decided they could do something they actually cared about. This is a group of the people that survived the trials and tribulations of making less money and working harder and sacrificing more. I think it's to say that we're normal people who are embracing the things around us and the things that we interact with, and choosing to not just modify our surroundings, but be a part of forming what surrounds us.